Today we're on day 2 of our project to add a storage area to this garage. We've already framed out the wall and now we're ready to add some drywall. Today I'm going to show you some tips on hanging drywall that's going to have you doing a professional looking job. I'm ready to hang my top piece of drywall, so I'm going to take a measurement for the width of this wall, and that's 47.5. If you'll notice, the studs are 16 inches on center, and we're going to mark that on the drywall as well. So let's go over here and we'll make our marks. As I'm going down, I'm going to go ahead and mark those 16 inches so that we know where we want to nail it into the stud. And we're going to mark 47.5. Okay. Now I'm going to use a T-square. You can use a level. You just want to make sure that you have something that will go the full width of the drywall so that you can get one continuous line. I'm going to use a utility knife to score this. Okay, now that I have it scored, I'm going to draw the lines where I've marked my studs. Again, I'm going to use the T-square and make a straight line all of the way down. The same thing on this one. Okay, and now we're going to go around to the back. And you want to put your knee right where you've made the score on the front, and then pull the drywall towards you. Now that I have my break on the front, I'm going to use a utility knife to cut the facing in the back so that I get a nice clean break. Now that we have the drywall separated, if you'll notice, this edge is pretty rough. So I'm going to use a tool called a drywall shaver to smooth the edges so that we get a nice clean edge. Do you see how smooth that is? We'll do this all the way down. If you're hanging drywall by yourself, it's a little bit difficult to hold on to because it's so large. When you're trying to nail it in place, it moves around on you. So here's a couple of tips. Measure from the ceiling down 4 feet because that's the width of the drywall, and then add a ½ inch so that you have a little bit of room. You do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to nail a couple of nails into the studs so that the drywall has something to rest on while I'm nailing it in place. Do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to put a couple of drywall starter nails in the drywall itself where I've made my marks for the studs. Put one over here as well. Now we're going to lift this up and let it rest on the nails. Make sure that the edge is flush and then hold it up so that it's tight with the ceiling and nail your starter nail in. I have my top piece in place and I'm removing the support nails. Now I already have my starter nails ready on this second piece, and here's another tip for you. Again, if you're doing this by yourself, you can use a crowbar, slip it right underneath the drywall, and then step on it with your foot, and that'll lift it right into place. There it goes, and then just drive your nails in. I already have the opening cut out for my door, and now I'm going to finish attaching the drywall. I've already showed you how to use drywall nails, and now I'm going to show you how to use drywall screws. If you're working with a larger area, it might be worth your time to go ahead and get a drywall screw gun. You can buy one for about $60 to $100, or you can rent one for about $15 a day. The great thing about this is it has a depth gauge, so it's going to automatically recess your screws without breaking the paper. You see this nice big dimple that the nail leaves? Well, the drywall screw is going to leave a small dimple, but it's not going to tear the facing like you might do if you're using a nail. I have the drywall attached, and now I'm ready to tape and bed it. I'm using some pre-mixed joint compound and a 4-inch drywall blade. What I'm going to do is fill in over the nails or screws, and this is going to give us a nice even look because we're filling in the dimples. And go back and get all the excess. Now I'm ready to fill in the seams using the same procedure I did with the nails and screws, except for I'm going to float about 1/4 of an inch of joint compound over the top of the seam. Get a nice even bead here. And then I'm going to come back with the tape and attach it to one end, and it will stick right into the joint compound. I'm using paper drywall tape, pushing it into the mud on one end, and I'm going to tear it off on the other end. And now I'm going to come back with my blade to smooth it down to make sure that we don't have any air bubbles. To hold it with one hand so that it doesn't move on you. I'm going to put one more light coat of joint compound over the tape, checking for air bubbles, and then we'll let this dry overnight. After the first coat is dry, lightly sand it. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to tear the paper. Then apply a second coat using an 8-inch blade. Let that dry overnight and then sand it again. Then apply your third and final coat using a 10-inch blade. Now the reason why we're going up in blade sizes is so that we can feather out the joint compound and extend it so that we blend it right into the wall. Then after that third and final coat is dry, sand it one more time to get rid of any imperfections. Okay, our drywall is in place, and we still have to add a couple of more coats of joint compound. This project cost us about $200, including materials and tools. But we're not finished even after the joint compound dries. Next, we need to add some texture to these walls, but that's a job for another day.